Hello everybody, today we are going to discuss Adlestrop by Sir Edward Thomas. So this poem is quite a short poem and quite a subjective one, a reflective poem, and how it happened actually that Edward Thomas was on his way to he had actually taken a train from say Oxfordshire to Gloucestershire. The express train stopped at Adlestrop station. So this was an unscheduled one, an uncharted stop, and so in a way it irritated Edward Thomas. But later on, the scenic beauty, the landscape beauty of the place actually had a very deep impression upon Sir Edward Thomas, and it came out in the form of this poem. So I'll tell you something more about Sir Edward Thomas, that he is actually known as a war poet and his poems are categorized like that, but this actually doesn't sound anything like war poem, and it was composed 6 weeks before the First World War, before the outbreak of the First World War, and so it doesn't have anything of that sort. It is quite a rhythmical, sweet musical poem. The second and fourth line of each stanza rhyme beautifully, and it is romantic in style. Though yes, romantic doesn't mean that there is romance. So romantic style means, as per literary classification, we can say any poem that expresses or explains the natural beauty and natural aspects is also categorized under romantic poem. So that way it is a romantic poem. It's a subjective one. The poet is expressing his feelings and reactions on watching that scenic beauty, how it impressed the poet. It is all about that. So very beautiful and short poem, and incorporates very beautiful example of visual imagery, sound imagery, all that has been included in this poem. And now this Adlestrop station is not there. It is actually a small village, Adlestrop, and there actually was this small station named Adlestrop, but now it's not there. Only the signboard of Adlestrop is kept there as a memory of those times. So now we remember this poem, or this place actually, I must say. So we remember this place by this poem and by Edward Thomas. So let's see how this poet has conveyed his ideas in a beautiful manner here in this poem. So here it goes. Yes, I remember that Adlestrop. Yes, I remember Adlestrop, the name, because one afternoon of heat the express train drew up there unwontedly, and it was late June. So yes, it was the month of June. It was quite scorching and blazing. The heat was such there, and the poet has got that name imprinted on his skull, on his mind. And so how it was, actually it was a day of heat. It was blazingly hot, and the express train in which he was traveling, and it was he had taken the train from Oxfordshire to Gloucestershire. So the train, that express train, which was not supposed to stop at Adlestrop station, it stopped there unwontedly. Yes, that is unusually. It was not a usual one, it was not a charted one, it was not a scheduled one. So of course it might have caused some irritation to the passengers, to the travelers, to the poet as well, that why did it stop there? It's not the usual one, it's not the scheduled one, then how the train stopped? So it might have, and as it was a hot summer afternoon as well, so it was quite an unwelcome one, we can say. And then what? The steam hissed. The steam hissed, and you can see, I told you there is very beautiful sound imagery and visual imagery here. So the description is such that you can picture everything in your mind. So it in such a way the poet has described the scenes and the sounds there. So the train, the steam hissed and someone cleared his throat. So here it's an example of, we can say, sound imagery, right? The poet has used sound imagery here. Yes, and we can by this sound, this hearing steam hissed and someone cleared his throat, we can even imagine the situation there, that how the steam engine might have hissed and how someone might have cleared the throat. So this is a very beautiful inclusion by Edward Thomas here. And no one left and no one came, as it was unscheduled. The stop was unscheduled, so nobody was supposed to enter and nobody was supposed to leave. So it stood there, it remained there for some time. Nobody entered the train, nobody left, nobody went out of the train on the bare platform. Now we can understand that the poet explains or mentions, writes about this as bare, on the bare platform. So the platform was bare, that is, there was nobody to be seen there on that platform. It was a small one, moreover it was not a scheduled stoppage, so nobody was supposed to come. So the platform was all bare, as if nobody was there, all kind of isolated and all kind of, we can say, lonely, desolate. So such a platform it was. What I saw was Adlestrop. So as I have written here, not just sound imagery, visual imagery is also very good here. Right? Very beautiful visual imagery has been used. So you can imagine the scene of the platform, and not just this, in the later stanzas the poet has given very beautiful description of the nature there. So what I saw was Adlestrop, only the name. So yes, that station, as we see at every station, the name written on a signboard there. So in that way the poet also saw that name Adlestrop written there. There was nothing else except that it was all desolate, and willow herb and grass. So this bare platform, and further in this stanza, willow herb and willow grass, and the other descriptions, they provide as an example of quite a pictorial description, quite beautiful visual imagery. So willow herb and willow grass and meadow sweet and haycocks dry. So how he is describing the scene there, every minute details of the nature around him, that there were willow trees and what willow grass and all such, there were herbs and also meadow sweet. So he is talking of the meadows there, and also meadow sweet, it is about a herb, particular kind of herb also. So meadow sweet and haycocks dry. Haycocks dry are actually the heap of hays lying like hurt piled upon each other. So that is haycocks dry, like dry haycocks just drying in the sun, all piled up and heaped up. So after the harvest, after the reaping, so they are just piled upon. So it was the scene that all around there were beautiful trees, willow trees, herb and grass and meadows, and also these haycocks, no witless, still and lonely fair than the high cloudlets in the sky. So you can see sky dry, came, name, afternoon, June, they all rhyme. So as I said in the beginning, the second and fourth line of each stanza have a rhyme. So that beauty of rhyme has also been included by the poet here. So what? It was no whit less, no whit, that is no less, we can say no bit. This is actually the poet is trying to say, it means that. So it was so still, there was a kind of peace, there was a kind of tranquility, there was a kind of serenity in the atmosphere, that all was so peaceful, all was so quiet, and just like cloudlet in the sky. So just as a piece of cloud is floating and wafting in the air in the sky, same way, and it is like all isolated and makes no noise, all fair and clear. So same way, the nature around him, the scenery around him was so still that it produced such a kind of serenity and peace and tranquility around him, that he was so, we can say, fascinated by that natural beauty, that it at once went directly to his heart. And for that minute, a blackbird sang close by, and then he heard the song of the blackbird. So you can understand by all these stanzas we have gone through that there was nothing like war at that time. It's all about the natural beauty, that how he was fascinated and charmed by that natural beauty of that countryside. So it describes about all that, and a blackbird sang close by. So he heard the music, the song of blackbird, and around him, mistier, farther and farther, all the birds of Oxfordshire and Gloucestershire. And not just that blackbird, not just he heard the song of that blackbird, but all wag and wag, as if all the birds of Oxfordshire and Gloucestershire were like singing like that blackbird and were just wheeling around, just flying around. It seemed like that, as if all the birds from Oxfordshire and Gloucestershire gathering around him and just creating music, producing music and wheeling around. So it seemed like that to the poet. So while describing all this, we can also imagine the song of the blackbird, all the birds farther and farther, quite away from the poet, as if just fluttering their wings and wheeling around in the sky, soaring in the sky. So that can be beautifully imagined by such a description, which is so pictorial and so picturesque, with the inclusion of all the rhyme and all the visual and say sound imagery. So though the poet is a war poet, but it talks only of peace, it talks only of nature, it talks only of serenity, it talks only of tranquility. So this is how Edward Thomas has written about that place Adlestrop, which was imprinted in his mind when the train, perhaps it wouldn't have been the condition if the train hadn't stopped there, but it was a chance one, and so this poem was composed on Adlestrop, and the place got immortal through this poem. And still there is that signboard and that small garden around that signboard to keep the memory alive. So this is all about Adlestrop. I hope you understood the poem. So keep watching for further such poems, to have a critical appreciation of such poems, to have a good healthy discussion about that poem. So you can also, if there are any queries on this poem or any other poem, you can just comment in the comment box, and I'll definitely respond to all those comments. So till then, thank you. Bye bye.